crying out my tears in a testimony. Oh, you meant for a queen, and so unclean. My alabaster box.
I came not with pride, but with pain, not with polish, but with tears.
One of the things I learned in my travels of becoming is that at one time appearance was everything. How you looked, how you smelled, how you interacted, what you represented, your name, your tagline, the street you were from, your neighborhood, who your mother was. And these all was outward appearances, but always neglecting what was in the inside. And sometimes we don't realize when we focus on what we look on the outside, we we forget that the internal part of us needs attention. And it's amazing how people look good on the outside but decaying on the inside. Self-reflection through a mirror is great, but internal reflection will show you how much you will last through your days and through your years. Because a lot of people are not dying because of what they look like on the outside. They're dying because of the neglect for the inside.
Right.
My wife said something to me. She said, "You preaching good, but you look gray." I said, "Wait a minute, what you mean?" She said, "Have you taken your vitamins? Have you taken care of the things that you need in the inside so that your outside can endure the fight that it will fight when you are becoming a reflection of what you look like in the inside?" Ah! A lot of us are lost with outward appearance, and we cannot identify who we are in the inside. That's where self-identity come from. Looking within. People are, I want to be a doctor. Are you trying to be a doctor because how it looks? I want to be a mother, but some of us don't have mother instincts. I want to be all these things without looking within. The Lord was saying to Jeremiah, look at this. Understand a few things. I am not too concerned about your outside. Why? Because I made you my image. But you can only become like me if the inside becomes a matter of priority. And then sometimes it takes a lifetime for us to understand our inner man matters more than our outer man. Do you know it's when people get older, they say whatever they want to because they don't care how people look at them.
Right.
What matters to them is that they have a voice and they are respected for their value, but not how they look. So your feelings is not a reflection of what you look like on the outside. Your feelings is a reflection of what you did not consider from the inside. Mm.
That's that's a lot, Bishop. That's a lot. Okay, so what stood out most, what you said about lady talking about how you look gray, right?
Mhm.
And when I thought about this, I thought about and I know it just I don't know why my mind went there. But I thought about when Jesus called Lazarus out from the grave and he told him to take off his grave clothes. And that's what I think about when I think about caring about the outer presentation. That now we live this life, we have this life in Christ, but we walk around with our grave clothes on from our former life. And we still have that stench of death. We still have that look of death. People are still mourning over the us that is already past because the oil that's supposed to push forward is being stifled by the smell of death.
Come
That's
on.
that's what I think of. Like
Come
and I
on.
and I was just like, am I more concerned of what people see on the inside than what actually see on the outside than what actually pours out of me? am I more concerned about if I look together or if I'm actually healing? You know, like
Mm,
what is my focus? Because I got oil. I got
you got
oil.
oil. You
And
got
it'll
oil.
go rancid if I'm more concerned about the bottle it's kept in. Like because the bottle you keep it in is important, right? But it's not as
Right.
important as making sure that you're using the oil when it's supposed to be used. Because you can have the correct bottle, but if you're not venting it when you're supposed to, if you're not pouring when you're supposed to, that oil goes rancid. It starts to smell metallic and it can't be used the way you want it to be used or it's supposed to be used. So I'm just like, is that what I'm focusing on? Am I taking care of what's on the inside? And that affects how the outside look. Because I think like when I got married, the dress for me was the thing that I focused on the most. Granted, I wound up wearing my mom's wedding dress, and that was such a big thing. But it was just like I look back now, like when I was getting rid of like all of the stuff from the wedding, the dress was the first thing I got rid of. I was like, "You want this dress back?" She was like, "No." I was like, "I'm throwing it away. I'm throwing it away." And she was like, "Why are you gonna throw it away?" I said, "Because it doesn't suit where I'm going. I'm not gonna hold on to this wedding dress. I'm not gonna hoarder it. I'm not gonna hold on to the idea of this wedding dress. I have to let it go in order for me to walk into wherever God is taking me into." And that's what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about being covered and making sure that my oil is being produced first of all at full capacity, because some of us got that half stifle pour of oil because
Tell
of
me
the way
about
we
it.
surrender.
It makes me think about this was, but Lord, I don't speak well. He like,
Mm,
choose my brother. And one of the things we have to learn that God is not qualifying you for the outside. He qualifies for what He put in the inside of you. And some of us we are giving up an opportunity from the Lord because of what we see on the outside.
mm,
Like you said, you have to get rid of the old dress. You have to get rid of the old mindset because He has already proven who you are in the inside.
mhm,
That's why when I was younger, they used to ask the question, do you know who you are? Do you know? Because some people see how God has selected you because of the development in the inside. It's unfortunate that we all ourselves that live in this body don't see that God is doing a perfect work in the inside to us in our lives today. What for you to endure harm, you have to strengthen within. In order for you to be successful, you have to take a moment to yourself from the thing that has tried to corrupt you from seeing that you're greater than what you was.
mhm.
So,
Here's
all
an
right,
idea I had. I can't lead
okay.
people. Um, I can't pull people to Christ and they be sustained if my light goes out. It's like it keep going out, like in the middle of guiding them because I'm not properly feeding the flame the oxygen it needs, right? So now it's flickering and they're in this dark place and they keep losing
Mm,
me because I'm going in and out because I'm not properly feeding my flame. Because a lot of people think, like fire is a living thing. It needs something to be sustained.
fire is a living.
So it needs the oxygen because fire literally feeds on H2O, H2O, O2. It feeds on O2 in order to continue to grow, continue to, blaze and breathe. So if I can't continue to feed that flame the oxygen it needs, it goes out. And what happens to the people that is depending on that flame to be guided out of the dark places?
So I've been in this position so many times because I thought that it might power because it was a part of my calling. And even though my light was flickering, I had to realize it was not never about me. My fire will only burn when I get out the way.
Mm,
God chooses us for the assignment. We don't choose us.
right.
And what empowers us is us trusting God because most times our healing comes in our serving. Perfection was never a part of the agenda. We do have to endure, we have to persevere, but we mostly have to trust God through the process of us trying to get it together while we are helping someone else move forward. There's always someone relying on us as we should rely on ourselves too to make it to the end. So we have to be careful when we look at our imperfections, understanding that God has to be the one. He said, I'm perfect in your weakness. I'm about to preach. I'm sorry. I said, I'm perfect in your weakness. So you have to let me be while you're trying to hold on. I've been in a place where I was still holding on while serving, holding on while crying and in pain, holding on while I'm frustrated and mad, holding on when I didn't even believing God for a season, but still preaching, still teaching. My fire felt like it wasn't even hot no more, but I had to trust God so they won't see me behind the fire. You hear what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so when I had to take myself out of the equation and just be a vessel instead of trying to be the person that used. That's the thing about a lot of us. We got to remember we're only vessels to be used by God,
Right.
but we don't have to orchestrate anything. We don't have to orchestrate anything. So your fire will only burn if you let go. If we got to learn to let go. Our healing comes in our letting go. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm waiting.
No, I said I had to hold on after that one because it's especially when when you used to like the presentation, it's hard to like let go of that aspect. It's hard to let like and be honest. A lot like you were just so honest. A lot of times it's hard for leaders to be honest or people in ministry period to be honest about how they really feeling. Especially when it's time to like kind of push through what you feeling because something gotta get done. It's like pushing through that almost feels like I'm being fake because I want people to believe that God is almighty, God is still good, and I feel the furthest from him, but I'm still ministering. I can't really, I feel disconnected from him, but I'm still telling people he good. I'm still raising my hands. I'm still trying to praise him. I'm still trying to hold it together, and I'm still trying to have strength and I'm still trying to, seem like I got it together. Because if somebody see a little bit of weakness, you know, that may make them falter because maybe me going through and this was my thinking before, like not as of right now, but before it was like maybe if somebody seen that I got a little weak, it might falter the way they look at God because maybe he's not as good as I'm saying because look at her, look how she's going through and I'm just like now I'm like, that is a whole ministry in itself. Look at me going through it. Look
Oh
at
my
me
God.
crying. Look at me
Oh,
struggling. Look at me pushing through even when I feel like I can't hear God. I can't see God. He far from me because now it's time to put into work all of the promises that he gave me. But people can't ever see that part. People don't see that part of the oil. They just see the dress because perfection is ideal. And then if you cry, you seem weak. If you at the altar every week, it's like, okay, what they fighting, what they going through? Why would I listen to them? And they gotta be laid out because I want to be delivered. I want to be free. I don't want to be stuck in this place. And if you watching me and you watch me cry, you watch me snot, you watch me do whatever, this is what getting free looks like. This is what oil being crushed out of you looks like. It doesn't look like what we grew up watching, what
Mm.
we grew up understanding, that this walk with God is supposed to be something perfect in the sense that it's flawless. Because we're people, we're not flawless. So, like, oh, we got cut again.
I'm back. You hear me?
Bishop, I keep saying this. I said I must be doing something good because these last 4 episodes been trying for me. The last 4 been cutting in and out. I got pieces. So we gonna try and get this.
So
But
let me get into
right.
your let me get. So I had me myself. I had to learn to take away the shame of being vulnerable in front of people. I had to also redirect and retrain people's perspective of me, even as a leader that wants to show my vulnerability and show them how to strengthen me because I am human. I am not Christ.
Yeah.
I am not Christ. The Bible said it took Aaron and her to lift up Moses' hands for them to win the war. At some point, we have to be okay being vulnerable and not worry about what people say, but you have to put some respect on my surrendering to God. You got to put some respect on who I am to God. Even though I'm the leader, it should be okay for me to cry.
Yeah.
It should be okay for me to get weak. And that's another thing that I have learned is that in my space of leadership in this season that God got me here is to train people how to cover me when I'm in weakened places and also allow my spirit to give access to those who really pray for me. I can't be so heavily guarded that I can't give those who God called to sense when Bishop needs strength. Not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The other thing is the other thing when I started pastoring, I'm going to tell you that it was some of the most disappointing things in my life because I started noticing a lot of people didn't have the heart for God's people. They had the drive to be in power.
Mm.
And so I had to deal with the challenge of trying to shadow the people so they won't see what I've seen while being discouraged because I've seen too much and having to leave. I had to also be careful of my message because there was a time when my message was angry. I was angry because so many fake people was around. I was angry because this word that people was giving was manipulative. I was angry and God had to check me. He said, you are not me. Preach my name. Preach my son. Do not try to be me and correct the church. You correct the atmosphere and redirect them back to me and be healed for what I've placed inside of you versus what you have experienced. Because he had to bring me back. He had to make me understand who he is. He had to make me understand also that I can be a casualty if I'm speaking the wrong words. And those people that are misdirected can be redirected if I'm just walking by his will and his way. So I've been in the places that I did not want to be seen because of what have I experienced. And I had to be strengthened because I didn't know if my fire was burning or not.
Mm.
But I had to also remember that he called me. I didn't even select this. I didn't select my mother. I didn't select the trials that I went through. He led me through all the abuse, all the hurt, all the pain that I've been through to just bring me to a place of clarity that I'm not in control. And it's hard to accept it. It's hard to accept the fact that you're never in control. But the best place you can be, what the Bible say, he that is hiding under the shadow of his wings, to be his covering, takes a level of letting go. Come on, y'all. Come on. I'm letting go. To be his covering, you got to snatch your attitude. You got to snatch your self esteem. You got to snatch your pride. You got to snatch just to be in his shadow. And it will refine you. But it took me time to get there because it made me vulnerable and it made me scared. I'm sometimes, even now that when I minister and when I preach and when I counsel people, I get nervous because even though some of my former days are sleeping, at any moment it can waken up.
Yeah.
But I gotta trust God that He'll cover me through what He has trusted me to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know when you've been through some bad stuff in your life, you don't want to waken that person up. And sometimes I'm really vulnerable. And Lord help me because I don't want to poison the people. I just want to help them to be edified and be sanctified because of you. And I'm not trying to be churchy, but if there is a call on the lives, that I want to make sure that I'm doing it your way and not mine. I didn't pick me. He picked me. Because if I picked me out, you wouldn't be seeing me.
If I had the choice,
If I had to choose.
if I had to choose, and
You,
I
you,
like
you,
that.
you,
I like that. I ain't picked me, he picked me. I think I'll put that on a t-shirt. I like that. That's so good. That's so good. And I'm so you Bishop, you be talking so good. I just be like, I don't want you to stop. I don't want you to stop, Bishop, because it'd be so good because I'm thinking about you were talking about you said so much. I don't even know which one to take first. I'm gonna tell you what I think of from what you said. So I was thinking about the remember when Mary like broke the box of oil and they knew how much the oil cost by how it smelled, you know? So I'm thinking of that because I'm thinking of you saying, I didn't pick me, he picked me. So the I didn't really understand my value until I got broken. I didn't really understand what I meant to God until the breaking started happening, until I understood that I was chosen for this because I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be. I was talking to Joy about, I was all right with the idea of what church is supposed to look like. But when I got into what God wanted me to look like, smell like, think like, be like, it was a whole different, it was a whole different person. And it was like really hard trying to um stay inside my idea of who I thought I was while trying to transition into who he called me to be because I didn't want
yeah.
it because I didn't I didn't like her that I was, but I also was scared of getting to know the her who I was becoming because she is amazing. He made her so well, and like getting to know her and seeing her and I'm just like, "Oh my God, you're amazing." Because like learning, learning me and learning what he put inside. And I'm just like, okay, Lord, well, where do you want me to go? What you want me to do? That's now. But before I was just like, I don't want this. I don't want this because I was
Mm.
one of them people. I was like, I like manipulating people. I like the power that I have, that I'm able to manipulate people and get them to do what I want them to do and think the way I want them to think because I need them on my side because I want to be the victim and I want people to play into that victimization, right? So, but now I'm just
Mhm.
like, what I carry is so precious, it's so expensive, and it's so important to the advancement of the kingdom of God. I can't be selfish in how I handle it. I can't
Oh
want
my God.
this just for me because I mean, like when you think about like Judas's response, like, oh, we could have took that and fed the homeless and stuff. And like, but it was so much, underlying behind it. And I'm just thinking about when that box broke and the smell of the breaking filled the
Mm.
room, because a lot of people don't think about they smelt her breaking. They thinking they smelt the oil. All the time we look at this, we think about we smelt her oil. We smelt the breaking first, and then the oil filled the room. They seen the breaking first. They seen
Mm.
her coming bare. They seen her laid out. And I always say, I like out of all of the women in the Bible, that's who I identify with the most, because I
Oh
was
my
seen
God.
in a way that I didn't want to be seen. And when I came to God, I had to beat the allegations. I had to beat the
Yes, yes.
allegations, Bishop. And walk
Yes, yes.
into, this new person, because even Mary was like, she's supposed to be in the kitchen with us. What is she doing in here? And I'm like, I was called to this. This I didn't place myself here. I'm just moving in the movement of the Lord. And now I'm just like, okay, what I carry is expensive. What I carry is important. And I carry an anointing that speaks. My oil speaks. I leave imprints when I touch people, just like oil do. It stains. I stain people. And that's what I'm thinking about. Like, what am I staining them with? What's the imprint that I'm leaving when I touch?
Woo!
You know, you had my mind
Oh
racing.
my
I was
God.
like,
Eh, let me put some sauce in this in how my mind working because I have a calculative mind. I thought that my debt overshadowed my value.
ooh,
And what I mean by debt is my issues, my heartache, the things that has happened to me, the secret things that I could never tell people because I thought that I was too indebted to what was disturbing who I was. I lost that, and I thought I had more debt than value, and it took a long time for me to understand that. You know how sometimes you get a pass to get through, not to be able to pay your debt, because in my mindset, how am I going to pay the debt of abuse? How am I pay the debt of being disturbed? How am I pay the debt of being lonely? How am I pay the debt of surviving this? How am I pay the debt of that? And all my debt had, because guess what? I didn't know how to steward who I was because I didn't know me. I just know I endured, I survived, but I felt like I was indebted. And you know how you owe people money? You don't want to see them because you don't got nothing to give them. And that's how I
mm,
felt like I don't got nothing to give because I owe too much. How am I important? So I don't even have no value. I am nothing. I have to create something. I have to become something. And God had to break that out of me. He had to break that out of me to help me to understand you have more value than you have debt.
mm,
You have listen, one of the things I learned, and I'm doing it now, that I had to pay the toll. I I had to I had to go before God and surrender. And you know what was hard? So one of the hardest things that I had to do with God is tell God the truth.
mm,
Saying that God, I'm in a place that I do not understand. Because what happened was tradition made me articulate things different. Church made me articulate things how I should approach the sovereign God. And even though they say we should come to God in spirit and truth, but what I experienced was not always true. Because another thing, I was a musician and I noticed some things. You understand? But when I began to identify with the Lord and what I was going through, the hardest thing was not being able to say, Father, I'm out of order. I don't know who I am. That was the hardest thing to tell God the truth. I thought that my faith was strong enough to weather a storm, and all He needed me to do is tell the truth.
mm,
But I can't do it by myself. That I cannot be entangled by conversations of this church world that will not make me get closer to you. But Lord, what did it mean when David was a man of your own heart? No, we see tell. So my redemption was learning how to be honest with God and where I was so that he can redeem me where I need to be. I hope you hear me while I'm crossing the bridge.
I hear you. And so your oil is your oil speaks your identity long before you know it. This what I'm hearing. Cause I'm taking in stuff and my mind's racing and I'm just like, okay, so your oil speaks your identity long before you're able to understand its language, basically. Because the language of oil is a heavenly language that we will never fully understand because we only have in part and it's given to us piece by piece by piece. And you talk about, what you go through and being honest with God and facing some things in me has been like really hard. And to the point where I was like, I kind of just was like flat out, it was like I can't deal with that right now. Like I can't deal with that part of me right now. I just got over this. I just seen this. I just seen that. And I'm asking God questions like, Lord, what are you doing? What are you doing in me that like this has to be so tumultuous? Why am I going through so much turmoil now? Right. And I started studying Job and we got to the end of Job, and I thought this was so interesting because I've never seen it before. We got to the end of chapter 2 of Job because I was so focused on chapter 1 where the Lord was asking Satan, "Where you come from?" and he was telling them, I was going throughout the land. He said, "Have you considered my servant Job?" And for so long, I thought this was about proving to Satan that Job would choose God, right? That's how I was in my mind. And this is so good about the dress not covering what the oil is supposed to, because Job, even though the hedge was protected, removed, he was still protected. He was still covered. And this is how he was covered because at the end of chapter 2, it said that he's experiencing, basically he said, I'm experiencing my worst fear, and that's in like today's language. So when you think about how they describe Job in chapter 1, how he was this man of God, he was righteous and he was sacrificing for his kids, and to think that this man had a fear, and I'm sitting here and it made me say, well, what do you fear? Why can't you go all the way? Why can't you trust him? Why can't you lean on him? Why can't you rest in him? Why can't you become who he wants you to become? What are you fearing? What is it about the next yes that's making you say, I think I want to stop right here? That say, hold on. Don't put the horn over my head because I'm not ready for that oil pour. Because the oil not gonna pour until it gets to me and until I'm ready. He went to Jesse at a specific time to anoint David. And that horn didn't release any oil until it got to David. And that's what I'm thinking about. Like, what when I get to that specific time, because I hear you say a lot about timing, God's timing, preparation, being ready. I hear you talk about that stuff a lot. And I'm just like, am I preparing myself for when it's time for the oil to pour? Because now I feel like almost what's the word where you're not obedient? Why it won't come to me? Rebellious. I feel almost rebellious because I can't in my mind fathom the next portion of what I said yes to. the next part of what I said yesterday, like, where is this gonna take me? Like, I'm realizing that my fear is not something like tangible. My fear is not knowing what comes next. And that's what hinders me. That's what hinders my walk.
Woo!
That's what hinders my trust. That's what hinders my rest. Because if I can't see what comes next, I can't trust him. If I can't see what comes next, I don't want to pour because I don't know where that pour is going to take me. I don't want to open this. I don't want to break. I don't want to surrender right now because what if I surrender and it takes me into an uncharted territory and now I got to trust you to navigate me out of this. But because I can't see where I'm going and I take my eyes off of you to look around because I'm not trusting you. And this just like the war that goes on inside of my head because I'm trying to go into this place where I'm not so worried about what I can't see. Like I can't focus on what I can't see. I just need to focus on God. But I get so and I know it's like control freakish. But I get so frustrated and I'm like sitting here and I'm like, Lord, I want to trust you. I want to do this, but I'm so afraid because what if I step out and there's no more road? Like how you walking through the fog and like on the shows and the cartoon steps out and there's a cliff and then the smoke clears and they in air and they just drop. That's a fear for me. So I don't know, like being honest with God about that fear has pushed me into a place where I'm just like I'm going through all of this to overcome a fear. You like I need to trust you and I'm stuck in this place because I can't. And something is happening where nothing is coming out. I can't you're not talking to me the way you used to talk to me because you already done said what you was gonna say. You already told me I needed to rest and now I'm struggling to figure out how to do that. And it doesn't affect what's in me if it affects what comes out of me.
That was so good. I heard a lot of it.
Okay.
Yes, I heard a lot of it. I was going crazy here. I want to say this. Um, Seasons change, right? And sometimes there are seasons that we win, and sometimes and when you can get exhausted. And once the enemy see that you're exhausted, he then tries to test your loyalty with God. And then when imagine you being tested while you're exhausted.
Mhm.
And then being tested, you're exhausted, fear and anxiety comes. It reminds me of Elijah, that when he killed all the prophets, and then with Jezebel said, "Yo, I'm coming to kill you." It was, and he ran, and it was not the fact that he was scared; he was exhausted from winning. You hear what I'm saying? And everything in him that he had before was not there at the time, because the enemy understand that we are wrapped and shaped in this human body, and that there are times that our emotions still have to recognize that we just won through the power of God. And also it makes me think about Job, as you was talking about him, when Job's his loyalty to God was tested. Like, wait a minute, wait a minute, you hear what I'm saying? We never talk about Job's emotional state.
Right.
I'm not talking about righteousness. I am not talking about his walk. I'm talking about his emotional state. Because now he has to manage losing his children, friends turning against him. His wife didn't understand where he was, so he was alone. We know how to pick apart how, oh, Job was a righteous man and the Lord picked him. But yet the Lord put him in a position that mentally and emotionally he had to gather himself together.
Mhm.
We don't talk about that. And so he was so used to winning. Now he was being challenged by the very creator that he trusted. What happens when the creator is challenging your loyalty?
Mm.
The creator. That's why He said, though he was careful on how he was saying it because he didn't want to be disrespectful. But though he slay me, they go, listen, woman of God, it was not as simple. Though he slay me, yet would I trust him? Because I wouldn't be like that. Though he slay me, yet would I trust him. You know, it was that, yet I'm going to still trust you. You want to challenge me, God? I'm still going to trust you. I'm still going to trust you no matter what you allow. I'm going to trust you no matter what's going on because he didn't know that the enemy didn't have the power to take his life. He wasn't in that conversation. He didn't know what the enemy had access to. He was in conversation. All he knew is to rely on what he always knew, that he had God on his side. And even though God was taking a step back, he still had to trust God when he could not hear from him. When he had to watch everything he worked for turn on him and burn. And because we forget serving God is not a cakewalk because God is holiness and his ability to be king. And he wants to invite us in, be straightened. Like all crooked places have to come together when we are approaching him. I always talk about this when Moses had to go up the mountain and he saw a bush burning that was not consumed. What kind of power is that?
Yes.
And when he had to approach it, he had to take off his shoes. And then God had to turn around and show his hind parts so only he could be in his glory. But yet, Moses not noticing everything about him was changing from his skin tone to his hair, to his voice, and to his walk. And so when he came down from the mountain and those who was right under him did not even recognize who he was. Every time we are in the presence, something something in us is being challenged. Every visitation with God will be a challenge. This is not a cakewalk. To serve God requires you to be ready for the next phase. Though he said, I got to trust him anyway.
You know you talking to me with that though he's playing.
Trust ain't easy. Yeah,
It's not easy.
because trusting ain't easy.
It's not.
Trust is the process, something that you got to take moment by moment and day by day. And say, listen, I'm a hold on to this. I'm a trust him. It's not survival. The level of understanding that I follow the sovereignty of God. I'm not for his hand, not for his feet. I'm following because he's sovereign. He's in control of everything. I'm not looking for a blessing in it. I don't need nothing, no reward. I just need to have the ability to follow him even when I see something different.
Hmm.
I can't let my mind stray to the left or right because trusting God ain't about anything else but moving forward in him. And it's a challenge when I have been in a place of not being able to trust people. Now you want to trust me. Now you want me to trust a God I can't see, but I know he's there. Come on, come on.
You said moment by moment.
But I want him
You-
better than I want him myself.
hmm, Bishop, I'm over here. I'm trying to keep everything in my brain, right? You said moment by moment. And that sticks out to me because that's how I came into God. I came into God moment by moment because I couldn't take I like I remember like I want to live my life for you, right? but that was too much of a task for me. It was too big. It was too big of a commitment. And I didn't want to commit my life to God and not be able to follow through, right? So I was like, "Oh, well, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to live for you today." One of those days, it got real hectic, and I realized I couldn't make that big of a commitment. Even the day was too big. So I had to start living for God moment by moment. So like for this moment, I'm going to choose God. We'll see where we are in the next moment. So and that's how I still choose to follow God, because I want to be honest with him. I don't know what the next moment's going to bring. I don't know if I'm going to choose what Christ would do, you know, in the next moment. So in this moment, I'm going to choose you. When the next moment get here, I'm going to try and choose you. I can say I'm going to choose you, but I don't know what it's going to bring, because in a second, your life can change, and you don't know how you're going to respond to that change. So now you're telling me that I'm going to have to trust him moment by moment. I'm
And
going to have to trust him moment by moment. I'm going to have to trust him second by second, because I feel like the moments is a little bit too hard for me when it comes to trust. gonna, I'm gonna have to take it down to the
yep.
seconds. I'm gonna have to take it down to the seconds, because I need to be able to release control. So because my brain calculates for the next moment in my control, I have to take it down to seconds, because I have to be honest about, like who I am and how I am. And so if I'm honest about who I am, because my brain prepares, because I have one of those brains that I'm a problem solver. That's the word. I'm a problem solver. So with me being a problem solver, I anticipate the next move. So in anticipating the next move, it kind of make me a control freak. It does a whole bunch. So now I have to give God the second, because if I can give him the second, there's no time for me to anticipate the next move. So I have to trust him moment by moment. And I know
So
this thing's supposed to be about oil, but I just like let it go wherever it go, because I needed that. Because that's something I've really been struggling. I was gonna do it second by second. That way I don't have time to anticipate the next move, because then it will allow trust to become my posture. Because right now I'm in a posture that doesn't allow me to be filled to the capacity that God is trying to fill me to. Because um, you know how like a water bottle gets scrunched? It can
hmm
fit water, but not the amount that it was created for. That's what I think about without the trust. I'm like in a scrunch position, and he's pouring in there, but not to the capacity that I was created for. And how my trust also, like, what did I read? Like, Saul didn't understand David's oil, so he tried to put his armor on him. And that's what I see myself doing to myself a lot, that because I don't understand the oil, because I need trust in order to get what I'm supposed to get, I I do things that kind of get in the way of what God is trying to do through me. And
mm.
it becomes like Saul's armor, it becomes big, it doesn't fit. And I can't really move around. I can't do what I need to do, because now it's a hindrance. What I think that I'm doing, even though it looks right, because that's what people, when you go into battle, you wear the armor. That's what people were used to. That's what people are used to. But my fight may not include armor, and I can't even really begin to see that, because I don't even have trust that I'm going to be protected without it.
You know something? You made me think about this. One of the greatest things that God did when Adam and Eve made the mistake and ate the apple, and when they ran, he came in a cooler day to find them. He said, Adam, where are you? One of the things we have to understand that we may not always get it right the first time or the second time, but he'll still come down and say, hey, where are you, Nicole?
Mhm.
Are you still holding on? Is everything still working out for you? He will always follow up and check on us. Sometimes we're more hard on ourselves than even when he gives us an assignment, he is not requiring for us to have it all together all at one time.
Yeah.
Because he's still not just God Almighty, he's still Father. He's not just King, he's still Savior.
Mm.
We forget that God is built with so many different attributes that he has enough to attend to us no matter where we are in him.
Yeah.
And sometimes we discount our process because we want to understand it all at one time. But he said, don't forget, I'm a teacher. He said, don't forget, I'm a comforter. He said, don't forget, I'm a provider. Don't forget, I'm a redeemer. You know what I mean? Because we're trying to impress the sovereignty of God, forgetting that we have access to the favor of God too. Woo. And we have access to the grace of God. And we have access to the peace of God. Oh,
Mm.
you know what I'm saying? Because we forget who we serving. We don't just serve a hierarchy that doesn't have access areas in him. And when we understand that whoever called God king, we have free access to the things that will help us pull up to his kingship.
Mhm.
So that's why he said there's no load that you can go that he won't lift you out of it. There's no mountain too high that he won't rescue you from it. But sometimes our perception of him sometimes cripple us because we don't know that he's offering other things to get us where we need to be. We are crippled by misperception.
Because we're trying to meet him instead of letting him meet us where we are.
The question is, where do he want us to go to meet him?
Mm.
Do he want us to meet the king or the savior? Do he want us to meet the peace of him or the provisions of him? You understand? Like, Lord, help me to show me where you want me to be. What location in you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What location in you do you want me to be?
Yeah.
Because all of us have a different responsibility to the king. And so all of us trying to, I want to see his face, but what he don't want to see his face, he wants you to see his heart. I got a responsibility to the heart. Remember this, hold on. The Bible says that we are the body of Christ. So what function are you called to? Are you called to the hands? Or are you called to the feet?
I like that. Oof, I like that.
Are you called to? So that you won't reach so high that you can't reach. Where
I like.
where does your capacity meet?
Mm. I gotta write that down. My good Bishop, that was good. What part of the body are you called to? Oh my God. That was so good. That was so good because we talk about overcoming the misconceptions of being in Christ,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we still try to be everything
Mm-hmm.
to God and then everything for everybody
Yeah.
around us. And I think that's what makes it harder. I know that's what makes it harder. I know that's what makes it tougher because we weren't meant to be everything. We were made with a purpose. So if we're trying to be multi-purpose, like, and we weren't create, like, I know that there are times where we all multi-purposed, right? But that's God's choosing. We try and choose the purpose that He created us for. And we try and be everything to everybody. We turn our service of help into something completely different because there are times where we're not supposed to help and they're supposed to lean. We turn our, like, we allow our gifts to be hoard. I mean, that's the best way I can think of. Like, we allow them to be hoard because we don't want people to turn away from God. And I think, like, a lot of times, like, when I was first coming in, I was like, oh, I gotta, watch what I say, watch what I do, watch how I am, because I don't want anything I do to, turn somebody away from God. But I had to come into the realization that some people was just offensed. And it didn't matter what I did. They was just looking for a reason, and I stifled myself and I put myself in this box to say, I can't be this, I can't do this. And it hurt me a lot. It hurt me a lot being crunched up in that little space because it didn't really allow me to be me. And that is who God created me to be. He created me to be me. And a lot of times, like, not realizing what I was called to, because we talked about knowing your gifts, and I don't remember who I was talking to. Oh, Joy. I just talked to Joy about that. Knowing your gifts and understanding how they're supposed to be used. So understanding where your handle is on your teapot in order to pour. You know, if you don't understand how your gifts are supposed to be used, this is why sometimes you get taken advantage of and manipulated because you don't know where it's supposed to be applied. So that was so good to know what part of the body you're called to, because it will give you insight on how to operate. And I think a lot of times that's what I forget, that I can't be in every part of the body, because to be honest, the only thing that's in every part of the body is the blood and the nervous system. So, like, what part of the body am I called to helps so much, because it's going to be a reminder that this is for a specific thing. Like, different oils are used for different things. So understanding what type of oil is being poured is important too. Because I mean, like, I can use vegetable oil to fry a turkey, but it ain't gonna come out the same like using peanut oil, you know? So it's like different oils are used for different things. And then you have different oils that have different fragrances. And I'm just like, now I'm thinking more on that terms of where's my placement in him now? And maybe that's why I can't trust him, because I'm misplaced, trying to be everything.
Woman of God, let me say something. A lot of us have sacrificed our personality where we should have sacrificed our character to be developed.
Mm,
And a lot of times our oil is connected to our personality, and our structure is connected to our character. So we need character building and personality availability. We have to have, you understand when the Lord uses you, He uses you in the way of your personality to be have a connectivity to people, places, and things. But our oil cannot be like really used until we develop our character. You know what I'm saying? Character building, character association, character. development. All these things have to be built, but do not sacrifice your personality. A lot of people are not authentic because their personality is gone. People can't see their oil because of no personality. You hear what I'm saying? Every everybody if you look at every person that God has called, their personalities was used. And so your oil is presented by your personality.
Mm.
You hear it? It's that one beautiful thing about you. Some of us are astute, some of us are funny, but that is the pouring of the oil.
Yeah.
And we are all used differently. And you said something good. We cannot mimic someone else's way of getting something done. You can't. If you're not peanut oil, you're not peanut oil. Be okay. Be okay. You can cook in olive oil. Yeah, vegetable oil. Come on, somebody. We can cook in anything that God has given us the door to open. But you have to make sure that whatever your oil is, you don't mix it.
Mm.
Don't mix the oil.
Don't mix the oil.
Don't mix the oil. That's why we got to be careful who we connect to. Make sure that the oils are compatible. You understand?
Yes.
See, one of the things I learned as a leader is this. When I'm leading someone and their oil is different, I have to make sure that I lead them in a different way that causes their oil to contain some thickness, development, and character and direction. Because I know that I won't lead everyone that has the same oil as me. But I have to learn to make sure that I understand their direction and push them into their future without being offended that our oils, it don't even only feel different, but it smells different.
Mm.
Do you notice that peanut oil smells different than olive oil, than vegetable oil, than
Yeah.
canola oil? Come on, somebody.
Yeah.
And then you have seasonless oil too. So we have to make sure that we are in a place that we're not contaminating what we have in us, but we are making sure that it is able to persevere through every season that God put us through. But you have to say this too. God, help me not to fear what's on me. Because when we realize what's on us, we may be shocked. Woo! And I just let me testify real fast. Um, as I get deeper and deeper in God, and my commitment to God is getting better and better. And I'm the bishop, but it's getting better. I love it. I'm getting better. I'm not saying I was bad then. I'm getting better. But it gets scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I started notice how God using me. It gets scary because I'm being used with no thought in my mind. I'm getting used without saying what's next. I'm getting used by my mouth being shut. And then after he uses me, the testimonies, I'm like, oh, I'm like, oh, and I'm not doing it in the pressing mode. I'm like, oh my God. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be transparent as much as I can because now it's getting scary because I didn't know how authentic and how trusted the oil was in me when I surrendered. And remember, surrendering takes every moment, every second, and reminding yourself every hour, even when I'm not up to it. That, oh my God, I give you my life, Lord. Mm. I have those days.
It's just like, oh, you said, I'm trying to think. I was trying to write it down, but then you said something else good, and I wound up writing it. You said, God help me to not fear what's on me. And then you said that that right there, that's true for me. Help me to not fear what's on me. because my mind says God is infinite. God is outside of time, outside of my reality. He's bigger than anything I could think. He goes further than that, right? And then one of the scriptures that stick to me is that he will continue to do a work on us until the day he comes, right? So if God is limitless, imagine the work that he can do if I'm surrendered, right?
Mhm.
Limitlessly. And I'm just like, oh my God. That's a lot to that's a lot to take in. That's a lot to think about. And I'm like, I already seen what you were able to do in this short amount of time. Because that's like a thing. When people in the church they talk to me, they be like, I remember when you first came in to now, you're a completely different person. And I'm just like, I can say yes that I am, but then I know me and I know what's changed and I know what's not changed, you know? So I'm just like, yeah, I am different, but in your eyes, he did so much work already, right? In my eyes, he has so much work to do. Like, he's limitless. There's so much work he can do. So I'm like, yes, God, you did so much in me already. You did so much around me already and for my life. But I'm like waiting, like, what are you gonna do? Like I'm looking forward to that, but it's just like it's also intimidating to think about the limitless of what God can do in me. So that, help me not to fear what's on me is so relevant for me because the um the fact that there is no capacity to what can be on me and what can pour out of me, because if he said that we'll do greater things than these, like what's greater than raising the dead and healing people from across the land, and like what's greater than that? Where do you go from there, like
Woo, woo.
so I'm just
Yeah,
like it's intimidating to think about what God can through you to edify, because that's what it's about. It's about a service. And it just it's mind blowing. So it does become intimidating and it does turn into fear.
but also we have to understand that what he wants to do is more for him than it's for other people. He said this word, and I think about this too. Eyes have not seen,
Mm,
nor ears heard. I think about that, and I said, is this really about everyone else, or is this about me getting closer to you? You know what I mean? Like, is this really about me really getting to dive into who you are in me, through me, for you? Are you really trying to see who I am through you? You understand what I'm saying? Like, what was you thinking then about me? But you have to gear me up so I can see what you see. We remember we had this thing. We had a title when we was at DT. We said, God calls you what He sees,
mm,
and it was about Gideon, and Gideon. When the angel came to Gideon, like, oh, Gideon, God calls you mighty warrior. He said, no, I'm no mighty warrior. That's us.
yes.
No, he said that's what God calls you. He calls you what you was beginning to be created to be, mighty warrior. He thought he was a weakling. He thought he was just a servant. How can I be the captain of a guard of all these thousands of men, and they surrender to me? And
Mm.
that's what God does. He exposes us to the greater, and then He refines us to the smaller portion, so that we can understand we don't need that much to be in Him.
What does it look like when oils mix?
So I wish we was in the same room to buy a few bottles of oil and test out the ingredients and how there's a discoloration that happens when oil is mixed. There is a different remember when you cook in a certain oil, they don't cook the same.
Right.
So some will make it cook slow, some will make things cook fast because either some oils are thinner or thicker. And the content of the oil is for different reasons. Some are healing solutions, some are for only heating. Come on, we about to get in
Mhm.
this. And so when we understand the oil, we will understand that if the oils do not run the same way, because remember, essential oil is different from oils that you can put down your mouth. Come on.
Yeah.
And so when we understand the different textures of the oil, we will find out some oils becomes offensive to others. You got to be careful for the offense when oils are mixed. And that's why the Bible teaches us that we have to try the spirit.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we are testing things that come in our midst to make sure that our oils are the same. Even in the Bible study, the Bible says that we have diversities of gifts, but we operate in the same spirit.
Right.
I don't care how different we are. If we don't operate in the same spirit, we ain't in the same oil.
So this is what I wanted to do because you are our last episode, and I put you last on purpose. Because I went through so many topics. I went through grieving the old man. I went through forcing, serving through pain. I went through what was Erica's? Erica's was forcing, serving through pain was Angie. Tyjon was grieving the old man. Joy, which hasn't officially come out yet, was whew, a tilted cup pouring from exhaustion. Um,
Mm.
Andrea's was what did I say yes to, and Elder Aaron's was about the secret place. What was it? Hidden the hidden season. So we talked about all of these things about what to go through in a waiting season, right? And when I first started this, I felt like I was in a waiting season. Now I'm towards the end, coming to the end of this, and I don't feel like I'm waiting anymore. But I have experienced all of these things that we talked about. What did I talk to my dad about? Oh, and held in the hallway. Not being able to walk into promise with the things from the old. So, I talked about all of these different things, and now we're here at the oil. And I'm thinking about how all of the episodes like intertwine with each other and how I'm hearing um a lot of the stuff that I talked about previously. You put it in a very much more elegant way. And you summed up all of the episodes a little bit here. And this was my thought because I wanted to make the oil the last episode because I talked about different struggles that affect the oil, right? Or how the oil is inserted, smell, how the oil smells and things like that. And now I'm in a place where I see how all of these things can affect the oil, how going into the secret place and abiding, or being held in a space where it says, I have to let these things go or I can't move forward when I'm in waiting, or understanding that my yes is a moment by moment, just like my trust, just like my surrender, and that I have to realize that serving God is moment by moment because especially for me because it a lifetime like committing to a lifetime is too hard for me. It's too much. It's too big of a commitment. And I don't trust myself enough. I trust God enough. But I don't trust myself
Mhm.
enough to stick to that commitment because I'm a person and I be emotional, you know? So I'm just like,
Hmm.
and you talk, you've spoken so much life into me since I met you, right? And I just want to, first of all, I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for that. And I wanted you to be the last person because I wanted to tell you that God used you. Because when I started this, I said, not me. You can't be calling me to do this. And now I sit here and I'm talking to you and I'm in a place where I'm like, Lord, you have given me a pastor of your choice who has stewarded me very roughly, very, very roughly. Okay. I said, Bishop, I don't like that man, but I love him so much because he gives me exactly what the Lord has for me. And you have compelled me into a place where um it's not pretty and it's not easy, but I'm able to continue to do it. And I wanted to thank you. And I wanted it to be on this final one because the dynamics of this podcast is going to change now because I have more confidence to say, where you lead, I'll follow.
Oh
Even
man,
though
yes,
it's
God.
hard, even though trusting is hard, because you were so obedient. And I just wanted
Mm.
to thank you for your obedience, even when I was side-eyeing you and frustrated and trying not to listen to you. You stayed obedient and you didn't, let my face turn you from what God had. And you didn't
Yes.
even do it always with words. You lived it. And I thank you for being that example for me because I needed it. And now I have the courage to live my life out loud and be vulnerable for other people to have a relationship with God the way I'm trying to do it.
Oh my God. Well, listen, woman of God, I want to say this before I leave you. When God showed me you in your travels with us, He showed me like you was catching a plane, and you can only bring one bag with you.
Mm,
And God was like, make sure she only bring one bag with her because other bags are not allowed in this trip. And so He showed me how to deal with you in many different ways so that you can only check in one bag.
ooh,
And no matter how much stuff you was trying to stuff in that bag, you, you it still had to fit above the compartment of your seat.
mhm,
And in that bag was many things because you was able to fit many parts of you inside that bag. But in our travels, God showed me that we were going to Africa. And let me tell you why Africa. Because and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but when you get into Africa, they always tell you, you better keep a hold of the bag because somebody may steal your bag without you looking. And God showed me when you get to your destination, He's going to call a thief to rob you of the things that have hurt you
mm,
and snatch them things from you. And and you're going to say, my bag. And He told me just stand there and just look at you and say, don't worry, daughter. We'll get something different. We'll get
ooh.
something different. I love you.
This is good.